Michael with United Veterans Worldwide, here for a second time meeting with my friend Daniel and learning from his expertise in coaching on nutrition. And today we'll have another discussion surrounding nutrition that can affect everybody, but specifically for this channel, veterans, first responders, helping people get over that hump and get to a lifestyle of nutrition where they feel better mentally and physically. And Daniel, want to give us a quick introduction to yourself again?
Yeah, so hi, and thank you very much for having me here for the second time. And basically, I'm a health and nutrition coach specializing in helping people who are performers. So that means people who want more from life, whether it's like active individuals, business owners, managers and athletes. Usually all of that together.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you back again. And tell me again what country you're located in.
Yeah, so saying hello from Slovakia.
Yeah, Slovakia. Maybe one day I'll be able to get out to Slovakia and we'll be able to do one in person one day.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. All right, so Daniel, you've continued since the last month where we had an interview, coaching people, guiding people in their nutrition. I looked at your posts. I want to give your channel more attention because your content is great, your education is great, and I'm excited to have you on today. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Oh, thank you very much. And this is the topic that affects everybody, but especially your audience. So anybody who is a performer, who wants to get the best from their life, and they have a lot of things on their plate. They're spinning many plates. So I was thinking, what is one of the main differences between people, for example, when they want to lose weight, and you know that there is a person, maybe your friend, and they are doing much better. Or maybe you start the same training program and they are getting much better results. And is it genetics? Is it your stress? Is it your nutrition? Is it the training program? So obviously all of those things play a role, and unfortunately we can influence genetics, but the main contributor is stress and recovery. So it relates to everything. And this, I believe, is the main contributor why some people can be doing the same things, even have the same genetics, or maybe you can have even better genetics than your friend, but they will be getting much better results if you are too stressed, right?
Yeah.
So balancing that stress and recovery is essential, and I think this is under-communicated in a proper way in the current environment.
Yeah, I love this topic, Daniel, and one reason I do is that obviously I'm on social media platforms putting my content out there, which means I'm also scrolling and seeing other people's content, and I get mixed messages from people's social media accounts. Some people say, and I can obviously tell that they're on steroids. They're really huge, and they're like, I work out 8 days a week, and it's like there's only 7 days in a week, and they just talk about all these three to four workouts a day and all the food that they consume and everything. And it kind of blows my mind because I'm like, wow, this is opposite of what I hear about on someone else's channel that says, hey, work out 5 days a week, get a little bit of cardio in each day, 3 days a week, I should say, and then rest for 2 days. Give your body a chance to really recover. So then, what's when we talk about nutrition, adding that into the fitness piece? What is your advice, Daniel? What's your guiding?
Right. We will get to this, but I would start by leading what are actually the effects of stress.
Ooh.
And why working less can be more beneficial, or when we say that, eat more to lose weight, or work out less to gain more performance or more muscle. Why this works, like you just mentioned. And for somebody, it's like working out more. It's all about what your body can handle. And this is limited by your stress. So, and recovery. So, if you are, for example, too stressed, what you can notice is that you have problems thinking, right? Your mind is more foggy. You cannot think straight. You make worse decisions in your eating. You get injured probably more. Then, of course, we have also some studies showing that stressed body also has trouble losing fat, and it's holding or packing onto fat. This is also why, because we make bad food choices. When you are stressed out, you are reaching for something sweet usually, because you want these carbohydrates or quick energy. Then you can also feel having more pains. And this might be related also to you, like you have some previous injuries or whatever. And I was just speaking with my client yesterday who has something with his back. And of course, when he sleeps less, his back is more achy. So these are all those things that are related. Your digestion, that is also important. So it doesn't matter what you consume if you cannot digest it and absorb it. And then nowadays people have a lot of digestive issues, and I think they might be blaming foods too much, but maybe it's just, why your digestion is poor is one part is the foods that you eat or the quality of the foods, but on the other side, a stressed body is not recovering, it's not rebuilding that microflora, or digestive tract, right? Because just like muscle, it needs to get repaired. And this microflora is also responding, so it's changing during these stressful situations. So the microbes that can be helpful, they are good in a healthy body. In a stressed body, we can see a different microbiota there.
Yeah, I can tell you about my experience this week, and Daniel, this is so applicable. My wife decided to go on a backpacking trip with her sister into the mountains this week. And so she told me the day before, and she's like, "Hey, I want to go on this trip." And I said, "You deserve to go. Like, go do it. Go have fun." But what that meant was that I now had to tend all the duties that she was doing with the kids, taking them places, plus working, plus doing my YouTube channel. I was overwhelmed this week. And what that looked like for me personally was for the last 4 months, I have eaten very clean. I have not been snacking on anything garbage. If I do have a snack, it's like dehydrated apple that I've done. So no added sugar, no added stuff. But this week was the first week in 4 months where I wanted junk food. I wanted chocolate. I wanted candy. I wanted chips. I wanted all the stuff that I haven't been eating. And it was a mental battle for me. And I'm like, why this week? Of all the weeks, why would I be wanting all of this junk this week? And second piece is in my workouts. Sometimes my buddies haven't come to the gym with me, and so it's just me in my garage working out by myself. And it was hard to push myself. And I'm like, this is a terrible week. Why? Because of what you just mentioned. The stress. It's playing a role on every aspect of my goals right now.
So the thing is that there are all these stressors, just like you mentioned. You can even enjoy it, like spending time with your kids and so on. These chores, it sneaks up on you, right? So one restless night, probably not a problem. When you get maybe 1 hour less sleep over a longer period of time, it starts to add up. And then usually when injuries happen is when you have all these buckets, all these stressors are overfilling your stress bucket, and there it tips over suddenly, injury happens or illness comes, right? So I just want to demonstrate it. And
yes.
So if you imagine that this is your stress bucket, right? So you have all these stresses, and it can be, I don't know, work stress, something happens in the office, right? Or you are having something, I don't know, pushing some deadlines or anything like that. Then your kid comes from school and they have some, I don't know, some virus or something like that, right? That is like another physiological stress. The neighbor's dog is being loud and barking during the night. You cannot sleep. Then you put, maybe there is forest fires, so environmental pollution, right? And then you also eat maybe some more junk food than your body can tolerate, and so on. And it's nearly full, right?
Yep.
And just like I mentioned, at one point you can overfill it. But then we think like, okay, but I still want to work out and so on. So this is like a good stress, right? Because it helps you clear your mind. It has positive effects on your life. It makes you more resilient, which is really awesome. But it's still stress on your body, and you can be adding, and then, you overfill your bucket. So it happens.
And it's probably happened more than once this week. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so this is also why exercising less in that time when the life is very stressful can be more beneficial, because you can only make improvement as much as you can adapt. So let's say that this is the maximum that you can recover from. Well, adding more exercise does nothing. So you need to have some recuperative activities or something to, empty it a little bit or increase that bucket. And exercise is actually, especially aerobic exercise, is one of those things that increases your bucket. So you become more resilient to stress overall. And then, of course, having good nutrition, having good sleep, and so on, helps you recover. So you can tolerate more of those things.
I love this visual. So you said aerobic exercise, like cardio, allows you to have more space in your bucket. It depletes the stress levels and gives you more space to function.
Yeah, so instead of this bucket, now you have like this.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because the hardest part for me this week, and I tried to do 3 high-intensity cardio workouts in the afternoons. Not this week. And I just haven't had the motivation to do it. Although I think we talked about before in our last meeting, paying attention to what the body's telling you. And my body's been telling me, go get some additional cardio in. You'll feel better. You'll free the stress in your mind. And I just didn't do it this week. So today, Daniel, now that you and I have met, today I'll do it.
Awesome. So let me know how it works.
Yes.
It should not be high intensity. It should be the opposite, right? So easy, maybe zone 2 running, or even just walking or something like that. So we can tolerate a lot of this low-level activity, low-intensity activity. We can do a lot of it, and this is something that's underrated.
Yeah. So let's put this in scope of somebody who is just starting in their fitness and nutrition journey. They're experiencing stress at work, stress at home. They're hard on themselves for not getting their workouts in or eating something that's bad. It just creates this cycle that spins down. So maybe one piece of advice that I would offer that group is, if you make a poor choice for food, as an example, right? You see some apples and some bananas and you're like, I should eat one of those right now. And instead you look over here and you see some Reese's peanut butter cups. And you reach for a package of those and you eat them. So after that's done, you already know what the better choice was for your body. But what we don't want to do is get to a sense of guilt or shame. We can get guilt. We can't have shame. Shame is that spiral like the drain emptying out of the bathtub that just drains all the energy and motivation out of you. We don't want shame. We can say, got it, I should have. Make a plan next time to make a better choice. And the same is true for fitness. Oh, I should have gotten my cardio in yesterday, and instead I just sat around. No shame. I can feel some guilt, but I can overcome that guilt and say, today, because Daniel told me, today I'm going to empty my cup a little bit more, do some zone 2 cardio, and make an impact.
I really love that you brought this guilt and shame also into the picture, because that's like you do some, let's say, I don't want to call it damage, right? Like worst choice. And then you are adding another this psychological, emotional stress that you just mentioned. No point. And I would just maybe reframe this like shame, no, but also no guilt. Guilt is not also helpful. So just think about it. Okay, next time, let's make a better choice. If I can do that, okay. I mean, these things happen. Try your best.
Yep. That's the name of the game for most of this stuff. When we talk mental health, the choices we make each moment of the day will impact this mental health. If we allow guilt, shame, regrets, negative thinking, negative voice talk, self-talk, it's only going to add to that cup and spill over.
Right.
So then the body and the mind never seem to recover fully. Our sleep gets affected, our relationships and our behavior gets affected, and it's a vicious cycle. So, how do we break the cycle today?
I was actually looking also in some studies that came to my attention by reviewing this, and it's quite simple, fortunately. It's the same principles apply all the time, so try to get good quality sleep and let's say 8 hours. I know it's not always possible, but if you can get at least 6 hours, that's better. If you can, maybe then just get a nap during the day, or maybe reduce caffeine intake, which is really typical for people. You know, we are in that cycle, not sleeping enough because we are stressed, or waking up during the night, and in the morning you don't feel fresh, so you get caffeine, and then during the day, and then in the afternoon, and then you cannot sleep again. So this creates this downward spiral. So that's really not a good option. Then taking care of your environment, I think, is very powerful. And what I mean by that is designing your environment so it leads you to make better choices. Like you just mentioned, you have these banana apples at home, you don't have maybe these Reese's peanut butter cups, or what it's called, or these foods that you don't want to consume, because, you know, when you are stressed, you are much more likely to grab them, even when you know that's maybe not the best choice. But don't want to demonize these foods, because, you know, sometimes just having that for your soul, we also eat for our soul, not only for nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a good option, right?
Yeah.
But still, get those vegetables. So you get these peanut butter cups, but also get your vegetables and fruit.
Yeah. Or like I've tried to do recently, which this week, and I was like really craving an additional snack, some kind of a treat.
Okay.
I have dark chocolate chips, and there was a bag of them. And instead of consuming the bag, like I used to do, right? I grabbed 5, and I consumed them, and I slowly allowed them to get into my palate, and I enjoyed it. It was so nice. It was so good. But I was like, now I'm done.
I love it.
Got my 5, and I move on. And the result was the next morning, and I weigh myself pretty consistently just to monitor my daily. And my weight from the day before, I dropped a little bit. How? I had those 5 chocolate chips. Because those 5 chocolate chips were not going to impact everything I was doing. But for me mentally at that moment, it gave me a reprieve. And like you said, I consumed something for my soul that felt good. And I didn't feel guilty or shame because I didn't eat the bag.
Yeah.
I ate 5.
Awesome. So getting back to the diet, there is this research on how to promote better resilience, better stress tolerance, and it's about just having healthy diet, protein, vegetables, unprocessed foods. So basically, the general principles that apply to weight loss, to overall healthy diet, also promotes your microbiome, which communicates with your mind, which helps you even now, let's say, tolerate more stress. I mean, it's great. I mean, I understand that for somebody, especially if they are coming from a standard American diet, it can be a hard switch, but think about it, like you said, in a spectrum, step by step approach, and let's do this.
Yeah. Daniel, I'm not sure if you follow U.S. politics. A new president was elected in the United States, right? And I know much of Europe doesn't really care for the new president. But one of the things that I really like about what's coming is RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, is now looking to modify our food industry and hold them accountable for the toxins they're putting into our food. And this is going to be something that I'm really excited about. As an example, in Slovakia, if you take a cookie or something like that that's also produced in the United States, the ingredients will be drastically different. We'll have 100 more ingredients, synthetic ingredients, than you guys have that are addictive, that are causing obesity in the United States, all of these things. Well, I'm hopeful that this new government initiative will modify our food industry and bring down that addictive synthetic additives to our food and allow us to be more healthy in the United States, which will make it easier to make better health choices going forward.
Well, hopefully that's the case. Like, from my view, these things take time, and making these nationwide regulations is really hard, and especially, people are never happy with whatever regulation you come up with, and especially when it comes to food. So I think everybody should take responsibility into their own hands and start with themselves and don't wait for the regulations, because we also see, for example, there is a sugar tax, right? I'm not sure if you have it in the US. Okay, so in the UK, they have sugar tax. So basically you cannot, for example, soft drinks, they are more expensive, but, companies adapt to that. So instead of sugar, they use some other sweeteners. That product is still there. It's still the same price, they adapt. Or maybe, for example, we use food semaphore here. And this is like the best thing we have now. It's not perfect. But, for example, if you have A grade on a food, it means that it's the best of those processed foods. Because you don't use food semaphore for broccoli, for meat, for so on. It means that it is the least processed, it is the most healthful food, the best choice nutritionally.
Yeah.
And this is based on vitamins, certain minerals that are usually not very rich in our diet, or maybe fiber, protein content, added sugars, and so on. So they have these algorithms for that. But you can still have these for example, breakfast cereals, where they sprinkle in some iron, they sprinkle in some fiber, and it has A grade. But you know, it's not the same when you add these ingredients, these powders, as when it is in the whole food, because we have something that's called whole food metrics. And that's like, you have simple sugar, when you add the fiber, it's like strands of fiber and simple sugar. In the whole food, it's connected together, so that release of sugar is slowed down. It doesn't mean that fiber, for example, doesn't affect the release of sugar in these foods, but it's, you know, I'm just using this as an example that you can always game the system.
Yeah, exactly. So you're speaking about fiber counteracting the effects of sugar and utilizing it better in the body. Is there a ratio that we should look to when we're consuming fiber?
I remember one thing, and well, the general recommendations, I believe, is like 10 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. So that gets back to like 20 to 30 grams for a person, right? Generally. And this is also why we see, like, for women it's about 24 grams, while for men it's about 35 grams, depending on the country also. But for example, when you are buying bread or something like that, there is like 5-to-1 ratio. So if you have like, let's say 50 grams of carbohydrates, so it should have at least 10 grams of fiber.
Yeah, that's good. My wife is very health focused, nutrition focused, and she always has been, even when I was putting on all the weight because of bad habits and eating and junk food. She would take the wheat kernels, red wheat or white wheat, and she would grind them up in the blender into a flour, and then she would add the yeast, and she makes this delicious bread. It is so simple to make, and it is so nutritious. And then my kids say, "Oh, I want the white bread from the store." And I look at the ingredients, and there are 10 times the number of ingredients in that white bread as my wife's bread. And the white bread doesn't taste half as good as this one. You know, it's unfortunate that our food industry targets the poor, and they make that which is better for our nutrition cost more than the junk food. And so then those who are poor or income constrained choose this option because they can get greater quantity, and they remain in this pit of lack of nutrition, underwhelming their motivation, their ability to think clearly and make best choices. It's very sad.
Yeah, that's getting back to the industry switch, that the whole processed food industry was created to create shelf-stable foods that are rich in calories, because we needed those. And now it's turned against us.
Yeah. If I went to a grocery store in Slovakia, do you have big stores for groceries, or do you have like little stores?
Yeah.
Big?
Well,
Both. We don't have many little stores. We always have big. And if I walk through a grocery store today, there are complete aisles that I never go down, because it's all just processed junk with tons of ingredients. If our industry were to change and we were to help people to adjust their choices, I believe those big grocery stores could shrink their footprint by 50% and make it a lot easier for people to make healthy choices in those grocery stores. You know, an industry switches, like you said, right?
Yeah, and that is the thing that, at least from my perspective, we vote with our money, right? So if we are not interested in buying these foods, I don't think that industry is like intentionally pushing us, but they are also adjusting to those. They are creating foods that are tasty, right? So we buy more of those. But also, if we don't buy them, then we see, at least here, that there is a switch towards, for example, healthier choices. And so when people are looking for healthier choices, well, the products switch, right? They are trying to produce healthier options. And we can see that everywhere, basically, when protein started to be popular, suddenly you have a lot of protein products on the shelves.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I wonder how we can affect that for good. Going back to the topic at hand, which is
Right.
how stress affects our ability to recover, and addition to that, what we consume in terms of food will either tip it over the scale or will lower that stress level, and that includes nutrition and the fitness package together. When you do coaching, how do you help a person get started on that path?
Well, definitely by assessment, right? And that is like assessing not only like what you are eating or how much you are training, but also these environmental factors and the stress from the relationships, from the work, and so on. And this is where I get usually a lot of pushback, especially from those people who are like, I want to exercise more and so on, and it's not working for me. And then, like, well, maybe you should exercise a little bit less right now. No, but I want to get some fitness gains, I want to improve. But, well, you are overdoing it and your fitness is even decreasing.
Oof.
That tells us something, right? So it's a hard battle to explain, and people need to really try it to believe. It happens to me many times as well, so I understand. But really assessing that flow, like, okay, I have more stress now. So, for example, I'm taking care of the kids. We have a lot of work now, let's say before holidays at work. So we have some deadlines or whatever, needs to stay overtime. I have bad tooth, so I cannot sleep well. Well, maybe instead of working out 6 times a week, now scale it down to 5 times or 4 times. Or drop the amount of sets that you do, or shorten it, or lower the intensity a little bit. You will not lose your fitness in that 1-2 weeks.
Nope.
You might even get better results by doing that.
Yeah. One of the things I do is I work out for about 8 weeks, 5 days a week, lifting weights.
Okay.
And I always take Saturday and Sundays off. If I do anything fitness-wise, it's walking, it's playing with my kids, hiking with my family, whatever. But after that 8 weeks, I try to take 1 to 2 weeks off from lifting. And instead, I'll do maybe a couple more cardio sessions during the week. But people say, like, whoa, why are you not lifting weights these couple weeks? Like, you're going to decrease in strength, you're going to shrink, you're going to lose your strength. And the opposite is true. After that 2-week period, I get back to those weights and I hit a new PR, new personal record. And people are like, what? I've been working out like crazy while you've been taking this time off. There's such an important message here about rest and recovery. You've mentioned getting the right sleep. You talk about, there's my thumb up. You talk about putting the right foods in our bodies. You talk about decreasing the stress. There's so much to recovery that has to be a balance between the effort. And if that recovery isn't there, the gains don't show. The weight doesn't come off. Your mind never gets a break from all that, right?
Right. I love how you summarized this, and also really good example. So what stood out to me is that you take a break every, let's say, 8 to 9 weeks. And for some people who are really inconsistent with training, that might not be necessary, but with somebody like you who is really consistent with it, we can do better if we have that scheduled downtime or deload weeks.
Yep. And when you mention sleep is a huge issue for veterans and first responders.
Right.
And maybe I can just say, in the world, anyone who has experienced trauma, which everybody in the world has experienced some frame of trauma, whether it's childhood or an adulthood. And trauma affects sleep. Undealt with emotion, pushed down, eventually shows. The muscle has memory. It will bring it back up at some point, and maybe the sleep is affected. I'm partnering with a company called Maloof. Maloof is a sleep solution company that I'm going to be promoting for veterans and first responders and for people in general who have gone through trauma to get a good mattress, good pillow, sheets that are cooling so that somebody can have a restful sleep at night, because every other element that I talk about on this channel, fitness, nutrition, making connections, these are all so valuable. But if we don't have rest and recovery the proper way, none of these things are going to be enough.
Right. So, like you said, we need to approach it holistically, not only people look at training and nutrition, from my example, at least from the people I work with. They forget about the work, the relationships, maybe the spirituality, all those other things that are influencing them.
Yep. No, exactly. Daniel, this has been an important topic for this audience to hear again, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom. I love the visual here that clearly identifies anytime we let the stress spill over. In the last couple of minutes here of our engagement today, what advice would you like to give to my global audience from your experience so that they can get started and decrease their stress going forward?
So I would really look into that, like maybe just taking a piece of paper and looking into these different areas, like rate it on a scale from 0 to 10, like how is your emotions, how emotional stress. Then we have physiological, and physiological would be the training and nutrition. Then we have psychological stress that could be from work, relationships, maybe some unsolved conflict, or what people sometimes don't realize is, like you mentioned, being too hard on yourself and trying like, I need to be hard on myself, I need to have this more discipline and so on. Well, that lack of discipline is also a sign of not recovering properly, right? Or being stressed. Do you have somebody you can talk with? Friends, family? How is your environment? Like, is it supportive? Or is it envious? Is it full of spite? Is it not productive for you, for your health? Are like bad news attacking you, right? So actually one thing that I did like this 14-day program to improve just energy levels that was focused on energy. And a few of my people who were there, they stopped watching TV news during these 14 days, and that made probably the biggest improvement in energy levels during the day for them.
That's amazing.
And you can see a TV behind me, but I don't have like television, the typical channels at all. The first few days it was like strange, but I don't miss it at all, right? If I want to watch news, I need to intentionally look for the news, for example.
And that alone decreased people's stress and increased their energy?
Yeah, totally. I mean, these people who chose to do it, they were those who were watching politics, right? So being stressed about it, mad about it, like, what are they doing, you know? you can notice that after 2-3 days. I don't know how it is in the US, but I assume that those people who watch it, or you have a breakfast or making breakfast for your kids, you have TV or TV news or political news playing in the background, maybe while you are driving by car. Be intentional about what you are focusing on.
Yeah, no,
and we are back to that. Design your environment.
Yeah, design your environment. Good. I'm taking notes on this. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today and for imparting your wisdom and your knowledge. And this won't be the last time. Let's continue to collaborate and interact and continue to share the new topics you want to bring up in the future, and we'll continue this process of learning together.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm studying right now in course, and we are going also how this topic came to my mind, because that's what I'm studying and diving deeper, and it's like basically underlying principle.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Yeah, let's see what we can come up with afterwards. I bet there will be many more exciting topics.
Yes, 100%. Great to talk with you today, Daniel.
Okay, have a nice day.